Craig Oldfield. I'm the founder of the Facebook group page Ridin, Alberta. I've been diabetic as type 1 since I was 14 years old. So I've dealt with lots of challenges surrounding diabetes, poor circulation, things like that, bad nervous system. But you know, you get the right gear and you get the right bike, and you can still get out there and do long miles if you try to gear up right and put your mind to it. Before Ridin Alberta, about 10 years ago, I went back to university as an adult student, and I got a degree in ecotourism and outdoor leadership, and that led me to doing a guiding job in the Rockies. So for 6 years I was a professional guide in the Rockies, leading 30 or 40 people at a time on 12-day journeys from Calgary out to Vancouver through all our awesome mountains and in through Banff and Lake Louise area. And of course, when COVID hit, my job kind of got taken out of existence, and I was going to do a ride last summer, and I wanted to make it worthwhile, a little more meaningful than just a normal ride that I would do on my own. So I decided to do a ride around Alberta in support of small businesses. So I ended up visiting 26 small businesses. I did 4,000 K on my bike, and gave them basically a little bit of free promotion in a time when they were looking for some help. I started riding motorcycles when I was in my 20s. I rode for about 3 years. I didn't really enjoy riding motorcycles when I first started. It was just a mode of cheap transportation, and then a couple years ago I decided to get back on a bike, and I bought an adventure touring bike, and totally changed my idea about motorcycles and riding, and now I can't see myself without a bike. Everybody was suffering last year, just like this summer, with the restrictions and things like that, but you know, they said the locals keep coming back and keep keep most of these small businesses going. None of them were telling me they were about to close their doors. They were still marching on, and you know, and I contacted these businesses. They were all nominated to me to visit. I didn't choose them. I got people on Facebook to nominate small businesses that they wanted to see have a leg up in their community. I contacted these businesses asking them if there was some sort of discount they could give me, or, you know, could they give me a free coffee if I stopped in and had lunch. And overwhelmingly, these businesses were like, yeah, just show up, we'll cover the cost, because we want to pay it forward to the next, because obviously I had a budget on this trip, but the longer that budget could stretch, the more small businesses I could get to. And that's how I ended up doing 4,000 kilometers, because that wouldn't have happened without those small businesses saying, yeah, just show up, whatever you need, you know. And it was really crazy, because I was an unknown commodity, and they had no guarantee that I was going to give them any promotion at all, but yet they were all willing to buy into this. That wasn't a yes or no whether I would stop there. That wasn't the question. I just offered them to come to their store regardless of whether they were going to give me any discount or not. Yep. And all of them were on board with trying to pay it forward to the next small business. Well, and that's the other thing, like the other reason why I wanted to do it solely within Alberta is all my buddies and myself included tend to go other places and ride motorcycles. You know, people go to Sturgis, they spend thousands of dollars going to Sturgis. They go to BC, they go to the island, they go down the coast to California. But, you know, when our economy is hurting and our small businesses is hurting, we need to be spending more money locally. And the other thing is, there's really great riding in Alberta if you can seek it out. People, oh, well, you know, Alberta's just, you know, flat like Saskatchewan, and we have a couple mountain roads, and it's just not true. There's really great riding in all corners of Alberta, and I've experienced all of it, you know. And for people just to you know, say that there's just not good riding here is that they haven't seeked it out.
Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo, where life takes shape. Guys are riding no saddles, barely a bridle on these things, and these are race horses. These are not quarter horses they're jumping on, and barreling around that track with almost no safety gear or equipment. And then they had the Indian wagon races, which are two horse teams instead of a regular chuck wagon. It would be four. They had two horses, and you know, and they're pulling a cart that my grandfather would have pulled with his horses, you know, but they're racing with this kind of stuff. The one kid, the one kid that rode, he was the jockey, and you have to do 3 laps of the track each time you're jumping off one horse, getting on another horse. He's 13 years old competing in this event, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, I couldn't jump on that horse now. Of course, I'm a little bit vertically challenged, but this kid at 13 is hitting the ground 2 steps and he's back on the next horse,
and then galloping away at breakneck speed because they're actual racehorses. They're teams of racehorses. So yeah, it was a really cool event. Really cool to see the culture along with that. I mean, they all did a grand entrance each day, and First Nations from all over the province, even guys right from down where I live, the Nakota, and the guys from Morley were up here racing. And so they do these crazy races 8 or 9 times, 8 or 9 stops all around the province, and definitely an event that if I'm ever near it again, I'll definitely go partake in it again, because it was definitely worthwhile. So even before I came up, I had mentioned on Facebook that I had never been north of Fairview. That's the farthest I had ever been. So everything north of that was just a new experience, and getting to ride up to the 60th, even though the border was closed, really cool experience. They have the rock cairn there that explains a lot of the history there, and just getting that picture, that great picture of the sign saying this is the Northwest Territories, and it's definitely like one of those things you check off of your bucket list, right? And getting to do it with a bunch of guys from High Level, and 4 of them were on Harleys, 2 of them were on crotch rockets, and I'm on an adventure bike, and everybody had a blast that day. It was a little cold when we got up to the border. It started actually like sleet raining, but really cool experience to get up there, and yeah, it's one of those bucket list things that you check off, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to cross the borders and go even farther north, because I'm looking forward to that.
You may be from Alberta, but have you really seen Alberta? With its vast vistas and stunning locale, get acquainted with what Alberta has to offer by experiencing Alberta through the eyes of a tourist.
is like the oldest community in Alberta.
Yes.
It's like 1788. And when I pulled up and I wheeled off the highway because I can on my bike, right in front of the Fort Vermilion sign to get a photo, and then I'm reading it going, Alberta's oldest community, 1788, and I was just gobsmacked at that time. I was like, I had no idea that was that place. It was Fort Vermilion was the oldest place that they basically had at any settlement. And really awesome little ride into town, and you're right along the river, and I stopped and had some ice cream and went up to the museum and checked out a couple of the older houses that they've kept. I don't know how old these places were, 100 years old, some of these places, so really cool to see that in that. And then Lacrete, totally different scenario. It's very agricultural and very small town, and everybody knows everybody in Lacrete. You just know by driving through that town. But really cool. And then getting to go across the ferry across the Peace, because they were closed for 2 months, and then they opened basically, I think the day of or the day before I rode down there, and getting to do that. So yeah, turned out really good getting out to these communities, and there was always a little bit of surprise. When you're going into places like that, you're never exactly sure what you're gonna find or what you're gonna see. And yeah, it was really good riding that direction too. Good paved roads, so all the way. Very good food. It doesn't matter what town you're in Alberta. If you've eaten at the Mirage, then that's got to be pretty high on your list. They've also obviously got a really good chef in there. I stopped at Lacrete at one of the lunch counters that the Mennonite women run, and I was the only person there because it was like 3:30 in the afternoon, and of course it's harvest, so everybody comes in for lunch, grabs their lunch, and then leaves. And I had homemade peach cheesecake with coffee for $4, at this, and it's all handmade, home baked stuff. Like you can't get that anywhere else, right? That kind of quality for that. So, and just a unique experience, because even having interaction with these Mennonite women that were working there, and the one younger girl that was working the front counter, she's very interested in what I was doing, and like, why are you even here? And then I told her I was on a motorbike, and she was like, well, that's like, no one rides motorbikes here, so where did you come from? And yeah, so it was a really cool experience just getting to talk to people like that along the way. I stopped at the Snack Shack,
right,
and had dinner, or grab dinner for on the go, and then right up the road, right beside the Home Hardware, there's the Moose. I didn't stop and get a picture because I had my truck and trailer, and I definitely didn't get to do everything I would like to. And especially after riding with some guys from High Level, they said, oh, did you do this? And I'm like, no, that wasn't on the list of things I was going to do. So there's always something. I think every day varies too. Like none of the days where I rode were the same. The riding out by Fairview, I went out towards the Peace River. I got down in the river valley. I was doing some off-road or rough gravel riding that day. The next day, we were south of Grand Prairie, and we were down on paved roads, but these are like oil field roads, so totally different there. And then when I rode out to Lacrete and Fort Vermilion, it's really nice paved roads out there, and different scenery all over, because you get around Grand Prairie and up to Rycroft, and then out to Fairview, it's all very agricultural. But then you get out by Hines Creek, and then the landscape changes. And then up by High Level, You go north of high level, there's no agriculture there, there's no back roads, there's one highway and you're on it. And so every day was very different. And yeah, I think you could come up and spend a week up here doing riding, maybe not every day, but every second day, and going to some of the other events that they've got up here, and tie that all into a little mini vacation up in the north here.